Well, when we had the land commissioner election and Mark Robinson was running for it, it was so important to try to get him in office because it's 7 constitutional offices are selected by the reigning party.
Right.
And so if you've got one party appointing all of those offices, then they can determine the electoral districts and the process.
Yeah.
So that needs to be really studied.
Yeah. Senate Bill 93 repeals provisions of the remaining members of the city board to select a successor to fill the unexpired term created when a board member resigns to run for mayor. So,
Who would do it instead?
I don't know if they would call a special election or somebody would appoint them. Again, that's why this, obviously needs to be followed. Senate Bill 162 creates an exemption from 1 year in reporting requirements for carryover funds for candidates who retain carryover funds from a general election held in November of that year. So I'm not sure, again, creates an exemption from year-end reporting. Why would,
That sounds strange.
Yeah, that's kind of strange.
Yeah.
Senate Bill 161 adds provisions to ethics laws which relate to local option ballot questions. Committees and their donors, benefactors, and vendors include reporting requirements and rules for dispositions of funds on hand upon committee dissolution. So that is another one. What does it really mean? The devil's in the details on all of these bills. Okay. House Bill 1068 requires, this is one in elections that we would oppose, requires write-in candidates to file a notice of their candidacy 90 days prior to the election. This, again, is an attempt, I think, to try to discourage write-in voters. House Bill 1002 proposes an amendment to the Constitution to eliminate the even year fiscal session of the General Assembly. As you may recall, just a few years ago, we had a constitutional amendment passed creating the budget session in even years. This is an amendment that would do away with it. So, I'm not sure. A lot of...
Just get rid of it?
Yeah, they would deal with the budget during the regular
So they
session.
want to raise, and so they want to raise their
Income.
their salary and then work half the amount of time.
Yeah, double salary work half the time. Don't you like that one?
Would this go to the people, or is this just?
It would go to the people. It would have to go to the people. It would be a constitutional amendment, yes.
Well, they can go on vacation with all their extra money.
So, yeah, right. Senate Bill 7 abolishes the Arkansas Lottery Commission and its membership stipulations, renaming it the Arkansas Lottery Division of the Department of Higher Education. And assigns responsibilities to the governor-appointed division director.
Love the money.
Yeah. So, and that I'm not sure. I mean, all the money does go to the Department of Higher Education for scholarships, and this is just a move to, put it in to that higher education department. So, in the environment section, House Bill 1188 appropriates funds to the Department of Environmental Quality, and we talked about that earlier. Again, this is one to watch because there could be some further cuts in the Department of Environmental Quality and some stipulations about not funding certain things being done. House Bill 1201, and these are bills to be tracked, allow steel manufacturers to carry forward unused remainders of tax credit for purchase of waste reduction, reuse, and recycling equipment for up to 14 years. That's so. I'm not a tax specialist by any means, but I don't know if that's what that purpose of that would be.
It sounds unusual.
It sounds.
To carry over for 14 years.
Yeah.
Well, we need to Scott Nystrom to.
And they're getting huge tax breaks already.
Yeah, exactly.
They're already, both the Nucor and the new company.
Yeah. So that's one, you know, really I think that needs further looking at. And also, I'm sorry I didn't mention this earlier. As we're going through any of these bills that are just being tracked, if you'd like more information or like the public policy panel to investigate more, just let me know. They'd be glad, you know, because like I said, you know, all of you are the clientele. So it's important to get your feedback, and just like if you have, you know, some ideas on these, it will help. Senate Bill 157 allows non-municipal domestic sewage treatment plants to use their federal tax returns from the previous 5 years when proving financial solvency for the purpose of a reduction in the amount of financial assurance needed for permit removal.
As opposed to what?
Yeah. Take somebody with a higher pay grade than mine to understand that. And then Senate Bill 183 creates procedures for the creation of a state plan to regulate carbon dioxide emissions from power plants, requires approval by the Legislative Council before submission to the EPA, and limits the plan's rate impacts and other effects. What this is doing, the EPA's carbon rule, which President Obama initiated in 2013, and the states are supposed to have a plan by June of this year for significant carbon reduction. In Arkansas, we are required by 2030 to reduce our carbon impact by 48%. One of the reasons is because we were so forward-looking. We built 2 new coal plants within the last decade. You know, everybody else was going solar or renewable, but you know.
And we tried to tell them.
We tried to tell them, right?
Sure did.
But anyway, so what this is trying to do is actually fly in the face of the requirement and saying that any rule will have to be approved by the EPA.
Any rule has to be approved by the legislative.
Legislative council, yes, before it's submitted to the EPA. And you have to look at the impact on rates that this would have. I mean, I can tell you right now, it's going to raise electricity rates. I mean, anybody will tell you that. That's why carbon fee and dividend is so important, because it would offset those increasing rates by dividends back to the average household. So that's a topic for another discussion. So this one is one that really needs to be tracked. I doubt there's much opposition to it. Governor Hutchinson has already said he's going to join 12 or 15 other states in suing the EPA to say it's unconstitutional, that they have no authority, they've overstepped the legislative authority to impose this rule. So this is going to be one to watch, but the thing is, if Arkansas does not submit a plan to the EPA, the EPA will come in and do one for us. I mean, we're going to have a plan. We can do it, or we can let the EPA do it, which is what has happened with the haze reduction plan. The EPA, Arkansas submitted a very inadequate plan, and now the EPA has taken over.
So APPP should definitely oppose that.
Yes,
They shouldn't just study it.
Yeah, yeah.
So what did they say? Did they say they were opposed?
But they were following it.
They're following.
Yeah, but I agree. I don't know why it's not on there to oppose.
You know, I suggest we advise them to oppose it.
Yeah, I will certainly Yes.
Maybe there's more there than meets the eye, but it sounds terrible to me.
No, I think this is just one that slipped through.
Could we unpack that just a little more? I mean, what do you see about it, Art, that you think is
Limits the plan's impacts and other effects.
really impact, I mean, what?
Well, we're gonna have some pretty strong impacts from this thing. I don't think you wanna build it automatically, limits those impacts.
I mean, it seems like it's impossible to do that. I mean, it seems like if you're gonna limit the impacts, then that's going to make the coal plant not, be able to do anything, not be able to cut emissions, right?
Yeah, you gotta be able to cut emissions, and some of these coal plants aren't gonna like it, and they're gonna say that's too much of an impact, and we wanna limit that.
Some of the impacts is the reliability of our electrical supply and how this new carbon plan will affect that. So they'll use that as reasoning for, we need to do this at a slower pace and less drastic. That,
Of course.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's economic impacts, but they're gonna say, well, it's a reliability issue as well.
Well, yeah, and Shelley and I attended all the ADEQ hearings on this, and the power companies and everything, this was one of their main arguments. I mean, they had presentations on this saying, the reliability is going to be drastically cut if we, don't have coal plants.
And the price of fuel going up and the stranded assets.
Yes.
Right. So, yeah, this is one that definitely needs to be opposed. The other interesting thing here is this it's been filed, it hasn't been referred to committee yet, so we'll see.
Who's looking through windows?
I don't know if, everyone has that book that's going around, we could look him up and see where he's from.
Republican.
Well, I mean, if you'll notice, almost all the bills are Republican. I mean, they control a vast majority of those houses now.
That relates to the Silent Spring wind farm that's being proposed.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about it. Dick was just mentioning that to me. Well, I mean, that's just an excuse not to do anything. It can be done, I mean. All right. An unclear position which the Congress hasn't taken anything on yet is House Bill 1004, which requires utility companies to purchase net excess generation monthly from net metering customers, and utilities avoid the cost of wholesale power minus a 10% fee. Requires separate billing and crediting for facilities with the common owner. Now, on its face, the renewable energy groups in Arkansas oppose this 10% fee to connect to the grid. And this is a tactic that's being used all over the country to discourage people to put solar panels on their roof. But during discussion of this last Friday, Frank Kelly, who some of you probably know with the Arkansas Renewable Energy Association, said that they have been in communication with Representative Meeks, and he has been willing to change this. So this may be a bill that we would want to support.
It's almost a feed-in tariff. Is it?
It is.
Well,
It is a feed-in tariff.
it could be very
It
easily.
could be a feed-in tariff. It's just that 10% fee that they're
Yeah.
putting.
Yeah.
And what's that fee based off of?
That fee is 10% of what you generate, I'm assuming.
Wholesale power.
Wholesale power minus 10%.
Yeah.
Got each year, I would assume.
Well, the
So
wholesale
like
power-
if you had net thing in excess of say $1,000,
Yeah.
then you take 100 for. And again, this is being tried all over the country.
Yeah.
And it discourages any solar development on your own.
Well, the bill would be an encouragement in general, just because right now we can't sell any power back.
Right.
So it would help incentivize people buying it, though there is a cap.
Yeah,
It's better to wait and get a better bill.
Yeah, and like I said, Frank Kelly, who has been working on this for years, was optimistic in talking with me. So maybe, you know, some common sense will prevail, which would be amazing.
I don't think the Europeans do anything like that. A country like Germany,
No.
they're so successful with this.
Yeah, they don't have that.
They don't do that, so
No.
I'd say let's do it that way.
They encourage
Not this way.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And that's the
Yeah,
thing,
they
like,
do.
all these power companies are crying about, you know, reliability and so forth, you know, there is a way to do it. They
They're
just
afraid of
don't-
their business model.
Well, exactly, because they're gonna lose control.
Well, solar prices keep dropping and dropped so much in the past 5 years that even with 10% is still probably viable for somebody to put solar on.
Could be, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that might not be a deal killer. Okay, the second bill is House Bill 1067, and allows the Arkansas Pollution Control and Ecology Commission to establish a nutrient water quality trading system which may involve credits, offsets, and creates a nutrient water quality trading advisory panel. Well,
Nutrient water quality trading system?
yeah, and I can tell you right now, when we were in discussion, we came out with this to oppose that.
Yes.
Yes.
In other words, we can pollute this river if we unpollute this other river.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
Stupid.
offsets, carbon
Yes.
offsets.
Let's truck, let's truck chicken waste or hog waste to a different watershed.
Yeah.
These people are evil.
Well, that's correct.
They
That's a
are.
terrible idea.
Yeah, so I mean, that one is definitely needs to be watched and opposed.
Carbon is totally different. The phosphorus in a river is specific to that river.
Yeah, it,
Carbon you put in the atmosphere is the whole world.
yeah, it's,
So you can have trading of carbon, but not
Eventually,
phosphorus.
that river runs into the whole world.
That's right, exactly. How are you gonna separate one river from another river? I mean, you have to put up some kind of a filtering dam between every river.
Well, there's also depends on where people are drawing their drinking water from too. If they're drawing it out of a river, then it has to be EPA standard.
yeah, I mean, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's evil.
You can't fix the Illinois River except by reducing phosphorus on the Illinois River. You can't go someplace else
Exactly.
and reduce that phosphorus.
Yeah. House Bill 1132 authorizes the Department of Finance and Administration to allocate recycling tax credits to public retirement systems that are vested in waste reduction or recycling projects, in the same manner they would allocate credits to proprietorship, partnerships, or licensed corporations, limited. That, I don't know.
It's them two Democrats, it's finally Democrats put something forward, is that?
It gives businesses or nonprofits that don't have big tax credit incentive that same option that private companies do.
Mm.
So, it's just a little extra help.
Okay. In public health, House Bill 1147 is the private option. Support that. Bills to oppose, House Bill 1181 repeals the Health Care Independent Act, and Senate Bill terminates the Health Care Independence Program. Those are all bad. And same with Senate Bill 178, repeals. Following bills.
What is everybody against health care?
None of this.
Yeah.
Well, one thing about why Republicans are crying about the cost is that in negotiations, there was no limit on fees and upgrades for insurance companies, so they could tack on, and for pharmacies as well. So the cost, one of the reasons that the costs are so high is because the healthcare, pharmacies, and insurance companies lobby pushed all of these extra fees into the bill, and it exploded the cost of it. That's one of the reasons of the runaway cost with ACA. But it's all on the Republican side, so if they, get rid of it, then it's just, it
Well, you got 250,000 plus people in Arkansas that lose health care. And a statistic was brought out, Blue Cross Blue Shield, which has insurance companies in Arkansas and the surrounding states. In Louisiana, rates went up 18% last year, and they don't have the Obamacare. Texas doesn't have it, and went up 15%. Oklahoma has it, and went up 13-14%. Arkansas's rates decreased 2% with the private option. So, you know, the support is there. It's just unfortunate that the messaging is not getting out. The real benefits of this. Ideology, yes. It's just knee-jerk reaction. It's got to be bad because of the change in the president. House Bill 1156, and these are, creates the e-cigarette excise tax, which imposes a 7.5% per fluid milliliter sales tax on nicotine solution used in e-cigarettes. Creation of a certified nurse practitioner medically underserved permit program for licensing as a nurse operating in an underserviced area, and expands prescriptive authority of such nurses. So, the way I interpret this is these people would be allowed to write prescriptions without a physician being there in a lot of areas where there are no doctors present. You know, that's one tracking, and I guess I don't know. Don't have much.
Yeah, the use of nurse practitioners is going to be